to say, oh, I want to start afresh. All he needed to do was to sit down, look at the issues on ground, and then step in from where they stopped. And that's why you see that today we have relative peace. Everywhere is calm. There is no problem between himself and those who have ruled Delta State. That is peace. And that's how you can keep a home. And in the end, everyone is happy. And if you notice what happened the day he came to the House of Assembly to present his state of address to us, it was a one united Delta State. Persons that I have not seen for over 10 years, they were there. So you see a home that is neatly knitted. And I was very happy. Okay. So he has done well in terms of peace, putting the state together, even in spite of all the challenges facing the country. Of course, the state is a part of Nigeria. For us to have a one united family called Delta State is one of his greatest achievements.
Okay. If you say that the government is a continuum between from the past administration to the present administration, would you say that he's still running with the vision of the past administration, or there are specific policies the governor has come up with to ensure good governance in Delta State?
You know, what are policies? You've come up with policies that will impact on people's life. If you have to go to Ibori's administration, you go to Dan's administration, you go to Otokowa's administration for this North agenda. And then you bring the more agenda on table to place what they have done, especially the last administration. You find out that all the more agenda had done is to cover up the lapses, if there were lapses of the previous administrations, to cover up to see how they can strengthen the state. So it is not as if there are new things, but the fact that when you point out that there are lapses, the moment you have those lapses, there is a solution to them. Okay. So you have been able to strengthen and cover up whatever loopholes that we have in the past, and then move forward. Because if you don't cover those loopholes, there is no way you can really sit down to say, I have achieved, when you sit down to track the performance of your administration. And who are we working for? You are working for the citizens of Delta State. You are working for the good of the people. You are working to make sure that it's an inclusive government where no one is left behind. So it is when you have done this needs assessment, you'll be able to find solutions. And that is what the more agenda is doing.
Okay. Now, Deltans and non-Deltans alike have praised the government's infrastructural development in the state. What would you say about Governor Sheriff Oburiwori's infrastructural development?
It's good, yeah. You know, I've always told anybody that bothers to listen that Delta State is a mini Nigeria. If you can rule Delta State, then you are good to go. You can rule Nigeria, you can rule Africa as a united state of Africa. So, if the citizens and those who have come to live with us have come up to say, oh, that His Excellency have done well in terms of the infrastructure. I've also told so many people that if you go around the country, the 36 states of the country and Abuja, Delta State is the most peaceful state. Okay. My local government is the most peaceful local government in the whole of the local governments in Nigeria. The implication is that there is a conducive environment to work. Nobody comes and sleep when the home is on fire. It is so because they have come in to do their business. They have come in to, as private sectors, as smallholder farmers, as small scale enterprise people. They come, they leave their homes in the morning, they go to market, they go to work, whether they work with a bank, wherever they work, as CEOs, as whatever. They go and come back and there is a home to put their head. They go and come back, and at the end of the month, or maybe at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, they look at what they have done and see profits. It is not enough to have profits. You can have all the money, and where there is trouble, where you have chaos everywhere, you won't be able to count your money. So that is why they're praising His Excellency on in terms of infrastructure and all that.
Okay.
Because those things are on ground, whatever it is, but it has given them peace with all the peace development processes going on, issues of security, all these things put together is a package.
Okay.
If that package is not in place, you cannot have anybody come to say, oh, this person has done well. So many things happen behind the scene, and then the policies are being implemented, and by the executive, the MDAs and all that. And we have good laws coming from our own side. Everybody is playing his or her own part to see how the state can move.
Okay. When we talk about the infrastructure development, I want to look at one aspect of it, road projects. The government initiated over 513 projects covering approximately 1,500 kilometers of road infrastructure across the state.
Yes.
These projects, how have they impacted on Delta State, but most especially Oshimili South?
Well, I just answered the question. You know, let's take one rural community, a very rural community, for example, and a polytechnic is planted there. When a polytechnic or whatever institution is planted, or a market, and there is road to that place, before now there was no road. Now when you plant that road, let's say it's an institution, you know that so many people want to go to school. Before you know it, a community that has been asleep for many years will become a city overnight. Because many people will troop into that place. Why? Because the road is one of the greatest things you can give in terms of development.
Okay.
When the roads are there, the poor woman
local government
to come out to go to the neighboring place to do her business. The CEO or middle class people who cannot, or so many people who cannot pay money, for example, the issue of rent is high in Asaba. And there is road going to Ebu and Okala, all those places. The person who will go there and live, pay less money, calculate the amount it will take him to buy fuel in a month, and then come to this place. So road construction is one good instrument for strong development.
Okay.
Without it, you cannot come out to say, I have done well. You must have those things available. Make them ready for people to use. When they use it, you don't have to put anything, just make that road accessible, and they will get it done.
Okay, so let's look at construction of bridges across the state, especially in the Warri Axis Borough to Bomadi area. What would you say about this giant strides of His Excellency?
Well, you know, I always speak from the point of development perspective, because that's where I come from. I remember in the early 2006, 2007, 2008, I had programs in so many communities in Ndokwa East, in Warri Axis, all those places where, for example, Beneko, you know, you cannot go there just because you want to drive into the community. Then I was doing malaria program, as a program of the UN, and I had partnership working. When we went there, or a community where they call a Yademe, Lagos Yede, all you have is to use Pontu to cross. There is no road to those places. But today you can drive into Beneko. That's because of the bridge.
Okay.
Now, we had Ode Chekiri, so many places. When these bridges are constructed, the people are happy. There are communities in Ijoland where you will have to go by boat to cross to the other side. Some of those places have bridges now. And I remember one year where a 92-year-old man saw a vehicle enter his community at 92. And that day he prayed, he said, I can now die because I have seen, for the church they will say because this happened. For the man, it was a miracle that in his lifetime he saw a vehicle enter his community, drove into his community. He will now go by boat. He will enter vehicle at 92. They will drive him out of the community, go to Warri, go to places, and then come back again. That will tell you the power of construction of bridges. Because so many people, do you know that in Delta State there are communities where before you go to this side you take a boat?
Yes.
Those things have come to an end, many of them.
All right.
So it is just for us to pray that the state government have more money and for them to do great.
All right. These roads and the flyovers that the Delta State government have completed and some are ongoing, how have they influenced economic activities in Delta State? Has the economic activities in Delta State improved over time with these roads and flyovers that we have now in Delta State?
Yes, I've answered these questions you're raising now. I've answered them even with the first issue that was raised. Yes, every step you take in doing the construction. Let me tell you, I said it about 2 weeks ago. One of my teachers came and said to me that he cannot go to Warri because the road is very bad. But my cousin said, oh, he cannot go to Warri. The road is very bad. That the last time we went to Warri, he didn't know that he wants to go. I said, okay, just enter the car, let's go. And we went to Warri, and he was asking me, which road is this? I said, this is Delta State Road, owned by Delta State government. And then, after a while, I was saying to her, do you know where we are? He said, he's just going. And when we got to Warri, I said, we're in Warri. He was checking her time. I said, we're in Warri. By the time we got to Uyeli, I said, this is Uyeli. He said, this is not the impression I had.
Okay.
But thank God that I took her in my car to go to Warri.
Okay.
If I did not insist that she should join me, the impression he had all along is that going to Warri is stress. But that is history now. So all this construction of bridges, roads has impacted so much in the life of people, economically. Yes.
Okay, let's look at the peaceful resolution of cases we had in different communities. Recall that His Excellency appointed a special advisor for peace building in Delta State. To what extent do you think His Excellency is pursuing peaceful resolutions and peaceful living amongst Deltans?
One of my entry points, I told you that Delta State is the most peaceful state in Delta, in Nigeria. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
That Domac issue with the army. So many things are not discussed in terms of security.
Yeah.
To deal with the military is not a joke. To have an issue with the army is not what we sit down to discuss.
Okay, no, before we go into issues of Nigerian Army Police Force,
no, what happened in that?
Yes. Let's look at communal clashes, how they have been resolved in this present administration, and what more do we expect when it comes to that area?
It is because of that peace building that His Excellency negotiated.
Yes.
You find out that so many of the conflicts between communities, many of those communities, some of them are living in peacefully now, in harmony with, and you know that so many things that have happened over time, it takes a gradual process to put them in place. And I do know that because of that department, the peace building department that His Excellency initiated, a lot of things have happened. And that's why I came up with this issue of the commerce crisis. If it wasn't for that, and the ability of the state and that department to manage the crisis around us, we will not be where we are today.
Okay.
So we need to thank God for that peace building initiative of His Excellency, and then for what they are doing, for what they have done, and what they are still doing, and the ones they are going to do. If you remove that piece, you will not understand. You will go and find out from those who witnessed the civil war how it is to live under chaos.
Okay, what exactly is responsible for the peace being experienced in the states. Some of these communal clashes, like on the raised, they were on for years before the governor came on as governor of Delta State. Is it that the setting up of this peace building and conflict resolution is what's largely responsible for the peace that we're experiencing in Delta State now, or the people are happy with the governor, the things he's doing for the communities? What exactly is responsible for the peace?
If you look at the more agenda, I told you here that the more agenda has been able to look at the lapses, because nobody is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
When you work, there must be lapses.
Right.
And so look at the lapses and cover up with those lapses. That's what is critical. So if you look at the more agenda and look at the values, whether you call them values, what they're going to do, and the working strategy of the more agenda.
Okay.
Talking about that peace and security.
Enhanced peace and security.
Any development person will know that without that section of the more agenda, every other one will not work. And when you have the aim, making sure that things work well for development, you raise the issue of infrastructure and all that. We talked about inclusive issues, why everybody must be involved. More importantly, if you look at the more agenda, everything borders on the poor, the most vulnerable. When you come into a community and you are the only rich man in a community and everybody surrounding you is poor, you will not sleep well. So if the more agenda has looked at the issues and feel that it is important to make sure that, like the previous, the smart agenda, to make sure that the excluded are included, that is the key word, is the inclusiveness. To make sure that we know where the poor live, how the vulnerable households manage, and it's saying that we have to do all these things to make sure that this group become the major beneficiaries. When they are the major beneficiaries, the troubles will go down.
Okay.
So that when there is a crisis, those who would have come out to come and start fighting and breaking, they will not be there. In the past, we used to have pipeline vandalization.
Yeah.
Do you hear about that now? Because the persons who were maybe directly or indirectly involved have also been, their capacity have been built one way or the other to see that it is important that we protect this thing with our last strength.
Right.
So when there are issues and they say let us go there, they say don't even try it. And that's why the state can sit down and say, oh, we have a home, we have a shelter. So the end result of good governance is peace.
Okay.
The end result of how you set your agenda, of how that agenda is implemented, of who and who is involved. Have you bothered to remember those who are at the lower level? When these things are properly implemented, what you get is peace. And that is why the peace departments, when you now go into communities to talk about peace, to negotiate peace, they listen to you.
Okay.
If you go there to negotiate peace where the issues they are talking about has not been addressed, you cannot negotiate peace under fire.
Okay.
You only negotiate peace when you have started talking to one or two persons. We need this, half of it is done, and look at our issues before, because negotiation of peace takes a long process. And when I have come to you, you say, oh, this is what we want, they've not given it to us since, and then you report to His Excellency, and His Excellency say to the relevant MDA, make sure this is done, and it is done. When you come back the second time, they listen to you, say, oh, wait on now, do. You thought that day, they don't do. So these are the things that go behind in the process of peace building.
Okay. All right. His Excellency, in celebrating his 2 years in office, was at the State Assembly last week to present his State of the State address. In that address, he rated the State Assembly very high. What will be your testament to his ratings, and what is the relationship between the state legislature and the executive?
Well, he himself is a legislator. His Excellency is a legislator. He was a member and then became the Speaker of the House for 6 years. So he knows what is going on in the House. And I can tell you that we've had a very cordial relationship. At any given point, His Excellency reports back to the House of Assembly to make sure that he's on track.
Okay.
Even if when there was an increase in the IGR that was not in the budget, he came back to the House of Assembly to present it, to say this is the position. Ordinarily, other government would have said, oh, let us spend the money, because when we projected that we're going to have this, now we have had more than that. He came back to present. So the issue of transparency, accountability, making sure that you let the people know what you're doing, how these things are implemented, have we used the money that was appropriated for you? Well, that was what he came to do. And for me, it was amazing, very impressive for me that he will always come at any given point, no matter how insignificant the matter is. He will take it very seriously and present it to the House.
Okay.
So when these things happen, you see that there won't be any need for you to quarrel. But at the end of the day, whether it's the executive or the judiciary or the legislature, the goal for this group is to make sure that we have a united state and a united family.
All right. Some critics in Nigeria, not in Delta State, some critics argue that the legislature is a rubber stamp, just there for the executive. So in Delta State, would you say the legislature works independently, or is there an overbearing influence from the executive?
I don't think so. The house that I am, I will have about 9 or 10 lawyers. We have our own minds. All we need to do is to look at the issues before us and discuss it, and then present to the House.
Okay.
And if His Excellency has issues also, like he comes to the House of Assembly once in a while, he presents it. I do not think that he has overstamped us. We are doing our job, and there is nothing anywhere that I have seen in these last 2 years that anybody will say, oh, he's telling us what to do.
Okay.
We are just doing our job the way it ought to be.
Okay. Paying particular attention to your constituency, Oshimili South constituency, a lot's been happening, development projects in your constituency. The very recent one, the commissioning of 8 duplexes at the...
He said the 2025 budget contains several initiatives,
This is what we have done. As we speak, if His Excellency is also around Warri artist
Yes.
to present to the people, this is what we have done with your money, and it's not that the people have asked him to come and do it. Ordinarily, citizens demand for accountability, and then you go. So now that you are doing it on your own, it shows transparency.
Alright.
It shows that there is leadership that he has promised. He will be a servant leader, and he's not going to wait. And don't forget that His Excellency is also a street guy. He's a street guy, so he knows that sitting in the House of Assembly, in his governor's lodge, for the period he's going to be there,
places.
is not going to be enough.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, when we go, power is transient. We'll always be reminded that we're not going to be there forever. So it is important that you do the right thing, and so that in the end, when you come back, the people will say, go back, go and do this. That's what he's doing. So I thank God for his life.
Okay, because you're a woman, I will let you live without asking this question.
Yeah.
How about youth and women inclusion in governance in Delta States?
Yes.
Is this administration gender friendly?
Well, you know that we have 25 local governments.
Okay.
Out of 25 local governments, we have 25 local government chairmen. We have 22 local government vice.
Okay.
if you look at today, I thank God and congratulate us that the head of service is a woman. It's not just a head of service, it's a development expert that His Excellency has made the head of service for Delta State. It shows that this more agenda will work very well. For you to have Dr. Saji as the head of service, a lady that have gone around the world discussing issues that affect lives. That is the role of women in development. So it is for us women to sit down and ask ourselves what we want. I've been advocating that women be part of what we do, because if you don't have women, you cannot work without us. And women should look at politics as development. You cannot give a woman a role to play and you will not play it well. It is the woman that sits down to and look at the whole environment, and so this is how we go. So it's my prayer that more women come. We have many women as family secretaries in charge of administrations in their different MDAs, and you can see that His Excellency is doing very well. The contribution of women in administration, what they do, day-to-day activities of the state, women are contributing more. And it's my prayer that in politics, more women and youths, because you cannot build a home and remain there forever. That's why I'm happy also. You know, there are so many questions you didn't ask in the course of this conversation. A lot of things are happening in the state that as a development person, I am very happy with it. Because when those things happen, you bring out the issue of transparency will come to play. Then you track the performance. What have you done from now to from 2 years to now? Women do a lot of that, and it is impossible for you to achieve anything if you leave the larger majority at behind. The youths, the women, are the strength of any nation. The youths, the women, whether they are youths, male and female, they are the strength of any nation. And I'm happy that His Excellency is engaging with them. And it is my prayer that he will engage more with the youth and the women. When he does that, the progress we are seeing today will, in fact, will multiply by 1 million. Because I know the strength of the youth. I know the strength of the women. And these are larger in population, and they have critical roles to play in development. And that's my prayer, that His Excellency will strengthen them the more. And when they come into play, of course, the African continent will know that Delta State is a state, or is working like a nation, a country.
All right, so what will be your last word to Deltans and the government of Delta State?
I wish every Deltan well, and it's my prayer that the young people will be very patient, because the level of tolerance is my worry. That the young people will have to be very tolerant. The tolerance level at every given point, there should be no issue of violence. Just be calm, be patient, and then we can talk it over as friends. Whatever thing that is disturbing the youth, I know times are hard, but let the young people look for mentors, reasonable mentors, not people that will tell them to go the wrong way in terms of violence, but reasonable adults who will mentor them to begin to sit down and look inwards, so that even in worst crisis, they are calm. But when you have crisis and you are calm, people are calm, you will not have a bad result. So it is my prayer that the youth will be calm and then raise questions, let reasonable adults around them respond to those issues, and if there is any need for a larger conversation, I'm also available. We can talk things over, and over time, the spirit of the youth will calm down, because when their spirit calm down, they'll be able to understand how things work. They'll be able to see things the way they are and not the fake way so many of them are saying it. It's important that we face reality so that we're able to achieve the real result. And for the women, let us also not be in a hurry. let us remember our home, the first role to protect our children, protect our youth, is what we give at home that they bring out to the society. So if we're able to protect our family units, what we are going to give to the society will not be yahoo yahoo, it will not be whatever violence, it will be listening youths, listening children that will listen to reasonable conversations and work with those conversations for a better Delta State.
Beautiful. Talking with the member representing Oshimle South in the Delta State House of Assembly, Honorable Bridget Anyafulu, has opened our eyes to so many areas that His Excellency the Governor has been working right here in Delta State. And of course the state legislature has not been left out, as has been praised in these 2 years of His Excellency's administration. I want to say a very big thank you to you for coming this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
For details of this interview, please follow us live at Delta Television on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. You'll find details of this interview. So we celebrate Delta State and look forward to a better developed Delta State in the years ahead. All right, this segment we're dropping and then we'll move on to the very next. But for now, this interview